our last session in Almaty that we held last year, the main discussion topic was that women are visionaries of change. So I believe that today's session once again reconfirmed that women are bringing innovative changes to many areas of social development. The economy of the country, not just innovation in terms of technology, but innovation, advancement and approach in various areas of society. We have our speaker who we've been waiting, Aisuluu, Mamashova from Deputy of Parliament of Kyrgyz Republic. So I would like to start our discussion with Ainura. Ainura, could you share with us what strategies and innovative approach employed to amplify women's voices and strengthen their collective advocacy for gender equality in Central Asia?
Hello, dear participants. Welcome to Kyrgyzstan. I'm glad to see you in our so beautiful land, and I want you spend so good time. And of course, I'm honored to be a speaker on this session because, as you know, Kyrgyzstan is so active country with civil society. As I am a member of civil society and I am a member of council under the speaker, our parliament. This council provides women's rights, children's rights and gender issues in our country. At the same time, so many activities we provide around the region. And let me give some information about regional activities around the Central Asia. This, our caucus, I should say, just a little bit information about Central Asia Women Leaders Caucus. It is a dynamic platform dedicated to promoting gender equality and regional cooperation. And our caucus comprises 5 distinguished women leaders from Central Asia. Just let me give me short information. Maybe you know these leaders. Jamila Isaeva, Miss Jamila Isaeva. We are the current country chair of this caucus. She's a vice speaker of our parliament. Very famous person, Tanzila Narbayeva. She's the chair of parliament of Uzbekistan. They were first chair 2021. Danya Guzel Gulamova, she's from Turkmenistan. She's the speaker of parliament. Danya Yespaeva, she's from Kazakhstan. They were chair 2023. She's vice speaker of Kazakhstan. And Bunafsha Faizinzada, she's from Tajikistan, deputy speaker. So many famous persons who make a policy in their region decided to conduct this caucus. And every year, every country are the chairmanship. And now in 2024, chairman will be under the Kyrgyz Republic, and we are prioritizing economic empowerment and women roles in digital, social, and innovation, environmental innovations. This was our specific theme, which will provide gender equality. And of course, we are committed to upholding global agenda is women, peace, and security around the Central Asia. And not long ago, on May 23, we hosted a regional forum. It was our first event. The dialogue was on the theme of a role of women in economy of Central Asia countries, leadership to promote digital, social, and environmental innovations. This forum covered 3
topics: creative economy, women innovators and inventors, green economy, women in social and environmental innovations, and digital economy, women in digital solutions. And this was remarkable that three theme will be, I think, will be interesting for CAMCA fellows, for all participants, because there was so many discussions around three themes, and there was so, how to say, solutions or key recommendations from this forum. And one of these result of this forum was emphasizing the importance of the platform for peace and security and ecology, and to promote ecology issues among the global changes. Uniting efforts for gender equality and women participation in green economy. And of course, there was so good solutions. One of the good solutions was proposing the creation of Central Asia Fund for the support and development of women initiatives. The fund will become a tool for development, support, and implementation of joint regional programs, projects aimed at uniting in Central Asian community of women leaders, at the full self-realization of women in science and innovations, entrepreneurship, strengthening their role in solving socio-economic and environmental issues, both in a single countries, every countries of Central Asia, and the regional level through the digital technologies. And of course, this fund will be a real mechanism for ensuring Central Asia women's access to education, technology, and financial resources in the field of digital, social, and environmental innovations. And of course, we are planning to initiating a Central Asian network for women leaders in digital, social, and environmental innovations as a broad communication platform at the regional level. And of course, this network will be accompanied by the creation of online information platform for the effective changes of experience, information, and maintain a database of participants, achievements, and of course, resources. And our initiative, supported by the regional women's associations and networks, which we have already, and we try to include them or want to involve to their activities, of course. And we want to suggest to CAMCA find a good opportunity to collaborate with our caucus. I think it will be a very big and wide activities. Of course, we want to be not only Central Asia, but of course Caucasus and other region. Well, that's just short information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ainura. I completely agree with you that creating networking alliances, this is something that is crucial for creating solidarity and collective advocacy. We have a representative pool from the political sphere, and I would like to take some question to our esteemed speaker, Aisuluu. You know that for many years the political sphere remained outside of the woman issue. And although the political women in political involvement exponentially rising for the modern era, there is still obvious gender gap. And what I observe currently, looking at the government composition, that there is a few women who occupying and responsible for key strategic position like finance, like economy, like international relations. So, Aisuluu, why does it happen? Is it just because women have a few political ambitions? or it's a matter of current stereotype that women lack of certain leadership traits that traditionally associated with masculinity, such as decisiveness and toughness, and what approach need to be taken to change this situation in the region?
Great question. Good morning, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kyrgyzstan, first of all. My name is Aisuluu and I am a member of parliament. And as you know, in our country we have gender quotas. And I have an information and want to read it about women empowerment in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyz Republic has made significant progress in passing laws and policies aimed at promoting gender equality and protecting women's rights. Kyrgyzstan has ratified major international conventions on women's rights and gender equality. The country has various national laws, policies and regulations to promote gender equality and protect women's rights. The constitution adopted in 2021 says that men and women have equal rights and freedoms and equal opportunities for their realization, and that no one may be subjected to discrimination on the basis of sex. To accelerate positive changes, 2 councils have also been established, namely the National Council on Gender Development under the government and the Council on the Right of Women, Children and Gender Equality under the Speaker of the Jogorku Kenyesh. Additionally, the Forum of Women MPs promotes gender equality through policy development. In Kyrgyzstan, women remain underrepresented in decision-making positions in all sectors, including politics, civil services, and private sector. The gender parity of women's representation has not been achieved at all levels of state and municipal authorities and has been declining over the past years. The proportion of women in public office, particularly in the highest level of government, such as a parliament, still does not exceed even the 30% thresholds. The imbalance in the representation of women and men is not across all state agencies. Political parties generally do not prioritize women's representation and gender equality policies, and most lack mandatory gender quotas. Male party leaders in parliament do not see women's underrepresentation as a pressing issue and may even highlight traditional gender roles. Women MPs are concerned about the lack of support from male leaders and their low level of gender awarenesses. Male MPs cite high campaign costs and voter support as barriers, while women MPs mention gender stereotyping, lack of family support, and violence against women politicians. The low level of women's participation in politics is often attributed to cultural and economic factors. Despite a modern state structure, patriarchal attitudes prevail in Kyrgyzstan, where men dominate society and the family, and women's roles are often secondary. Poverty, traditional beliefs, and limited access to essential public services increases public religiosity, gender inequality, and violations of women's rights. Violence against women is rising, with cases becoming publicized only through media and social media. Many incidents are silenced, forgotten, or blame the victims. The National Statistical Committee reports that domestic violence cases have nearly tripled in 6 years, with 26% of victims being women. Women face violence not only at home, but also in the workplace, particularly in politics and the public sector. The rights of women and girls faces multifaceted challenges from economic inequality, deep-rooted discriminatory norms, and limited public perceptions that confine them to traditional roles. These challenges hinder gender equality by restricting women's access to equal pay, employment opportunities, and the ability to pursue their aspirations. Cultural norms prevent women from being seen as individual within unique desires, keeping them trapped in restrictive roles imposed by society. Women's political empowerment and participation in decision-making is a fundamental base for gender equality and good governance. While quota systems are important for ensuring increases representation of women in election bodies, more work is needed to address pervasive negative perceptions regarding women in politics. To ensure women's meaningful participation in politics, the public life, gender equality must be integrated into state institution and governance processes. When governments, including a gender perspective in laws, policies, budgets, and institutions, they achieve better, fairer result for everyone. This also creates an environment that encourages women leadership and participation. Mainstreaming gender in governance is crucial for women's social, cultural, and political empowerment, better governance, and inclusive development. Moreover, measures to create new positive norms and attitudes towards women leadership require attention towards empowerment women and strengthening their ability to engage with their rights to enter politics and participate in decision-making, and towards facilitating public discourse how benefits in women's equal representation and gender mainstreaming brings positive results toward the developing of society as a whole.
Well, thank you, Ainura, to support women participation in Aisuluu, in every sphere of society, or not only in politics. We need a multi-phased approach to challenge the social cultural stereotypes. Would you like to give me example? I would like to give you example one of the social cultural stereotypes. It's a gender and negotiation. There is a myth that women do not negotiate, the first one. Second, women cannot negotiate. And the third one, women should not negotiate. And these are myths and assumptions, because there is a very beautiful tradition from our very own CAMCA region, from South Caucasus, when woman throwing her headscarf between two fighting men, she can stop the conflict immediately. So the truth is, when women lead and negotiate the peace processes, peace lasts longer. Dr. Kathleen, you work globally on the women, peace and security agenda. So can you share with us some challenges and advancement on these global efforts to ensure that women are the part of the business or peace processes, and why is it so important?
First of all, thank you so much, Salamat Zizbe, and it's a great pleasure to be back here in Kyrgyzstan, and my first time at CAMCA, but not my last. So, I just will begin answering your question by situating my work. I'm at the U.S. Institute of Peace in Washington, D.C., which was created 40 years ago this year, basically to prevent, to mitigate, and to deal with violent conflict in the world. We do not have a domestic mandate, we have an international one. I say that because we are involved in 29 conflicts right now in the world. So it brings both perspective as to what all these conflicts have in common. And I can tell you, I'm just back from Papua New Guinea. I mean, talk about really different places. And earlier this year, I was in Kinshasa, DRC. I will tell you, all the places have in common is a high degree of lack of gender equality. We now have research that has been done that has established that the more equal women are in a society, the quality of peace is relative, of course, goes up. And this is like, we have data now. This should be data-driven, right? But we know that it's very hard to overcome social cultural norms, and I say that as a social cultural anthropologist. I will also say, as an anthropologist, that nothing changes faster than human society. That is what we are known for. Adaptation. We're just not always aware of all the adaptation going on. So it is really, I always come to work with a very hopeful attitude. My children say, "What do you do every day?" And I say, "I work every day to make the invisible visible." And that is women. In every part of the world, we are invisible, and everything that you're doing right here today is helping to make the issues visible. I just want to recall what Shamil Ibragimov said yesterday. That was a brilliant statement in the afternoon session. He said, "Innovation is intolerant to oppression. And if there's no diversity, including women, then there will be no innovation." There's 1,000 reasons why integrating women, peace, and security into our international work. U.S. Congress in 2017 made it a law for the Department of State, the Department of Defense, the USAID, and the Department of Homeland Security that every one of those agencies needed a women, peace, and security strategy and implementation plans. As an institute, we're nonpartisan and quasi-governmental. We host regularly dialogues between those agencies and departments and civil society. Civil society is the engine for change, for women becoming visible, and governments are by the people, so we should be moving this further along, at least trying to outbeat all the conflict in the world. In terms of the challenges, I would say our number one challenge really lies between the right ear and the left ear, and that is a mindset. And many of us normalize this mindset, both men and women, but we work, and certainly every day women learn how to navigate very masculinized structures. Some people call them patriarchal. I don't. I just think they're masculinized, and women have been very adaptive. We have learned how to do that. But we also need to help our colleagues, men and boys, because we are the parents of many boys, help understand that there are horizontal dimensions to understanding how the world works and not just hierarchical. And I think that is really the challenge in front of us, is the collaboration and cooperation with men and helping them as a gendered group understand why a more equal world is really benefiting all of us. It's not a zero-sum game at all. So I'll stop there and wait for your next questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kathleen. It's evidently high time for peace-building community to reshape its mindset to conflict resolution by welcoming women to negotiation table. And one of the approach that complement peace-building efforts is applying social innovation. Ulzi, you have a massive experience working in many countries such as Central Asia, CIS, Europe, Africa, almost all continents, on increasing the gender leadership, social innovation, and it will be very interesting to know your unique insights and perspective on women challenges in countries where you work. And also, can you share with us some examples of approach that could strengthen the current cooperation of women in our region?
So, thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to this very important panel and discussion, and to CAMCA network for bringing this very important issue as a panel, as a dedicated panel. Let me start by saying that we are now 5.5 years away from the SDGs deadline. And it's like a deja vu, because most of us also experienced the same challenges and progresses, opportunities during the previous MDG time. During both the MDG time and the SDG, Millennium Development Goal, and the Sustainable Development Goal time, there were a number of goals which have measurably fallen behind. And that is the goals related to people's relationships, framed through gender equality, women's empowerment. In the MDG time, it was also around HIV. We have miserably failed. In the SDG time, on top of gender equality in our CAMCA region, we have backwards trends in the SDG 17, which is about partnership. And it's great that CAMCA is bringing the CAMCA region together to not work differently, to work differently, to think differently, which is really great, because world is miserably failing on that. So I carefully listened to our very important discussions we have had in the plenary, but also here in the breakout room here yesterday on Afghanistan. And thank you so much, Farzana, for your amazing also insights, and all other esteemed panelists. And I don't want to, go deeper into what we have discussed. We had a very good discussion, but wanted to take a few points from that panel to the CAMCA region with regards to what and how we need to do differently. So first of all, I want to mention that when I hear every time from be it Kyrgyzstan or other neighboring countries saying that, well, Uzi, we are still not Afghanistan, let's not make a big issue around this. I always give them an example of my conversations I have with women from the communities, from closed communities especially. Literally in all countries of Central Asia, Southern Caucasus, we have not only families, but even entire communities where women cannot go out of their homes without being accompanied by men. It's today, it's not tomorrow, it's today. Girls are not allowed to go to school after graduating from the primary education. And we are saying it's not an issue. I'm sorry. If this is not a security issue, then what is this? And based on all the discussions we have had during CAMCA, during other platforms, one of the key conclusions that we need to strongly, boldly make is we have to change the conceptual approach to gender equality and women's rights. If we continue saying it's good to have women because women's voices are not heard and they're not voiced, this is not helping us to move the agenda. We need to reframe it. We need to bring it from the perspective of it is a security matter already. It is a high security matter. Until they frame and reframe this matter, we will not be able to achieve the results. So in this respect, I wanted to share my key takeaways, key lessons learned with all of you. And those are as follows. First and foremost, we have had a lot of discussions about how critical it is to have specific spaces, safe spaces, for us to advance the dialogues on gender equality, on human rights, on environment, on digital, on any, you name it. We need specific spaces. Yes, that's true. But there are some issues that we need to really understand, and here I want to bring in the four major. So it's my bad that I didn't manage to put it in as a slide, because I have just assumed that I'll be able to display it, but I want you to just visualize for yourselves there are 4 major boxes, steps that we have to go through in order for us to actually achieve transformative change. First and foremost, it is absolutely critical to bring partners around together to understand the high complexity in which we now operate. We live and work in high complexity, and we need to bring the sense of urgency, high urgency, on the purpose of advancing women's rights. That's number 1. Secondly, it is absolutely critical that we also accept the fact that there can be totally differing views of different partners on this particular issue. It is absolutely fine. But as long as we sit together, then we move to the next stage, and that is to negotiate, to sit down and negotiate the common vision on gender equality, where we want to be. Even if we have differing views, to still sit down and negotiate on the joint vision. And the 4th one is to then agree we're sharing our risks, we're sharing our resources, we are sharing our responsibilities, but also we are sharing our benefits that we will get from there. Now the question is, are these 4 boxes are enough? Unfortunately not. We have seen these are important steps to achieve transformative change, but we have seen that something is missing. And this is where we are actually now coming as a conclusion when we are at the stage of 5.5 years left until the SDG deadline. So there are 2 major elements that need to come forward for these transformative steps to happen. First and foremost, there has to be new social norm holders in the room. If we go back to the issue of the women, girls in Afghanistan, and we were talking about whether putting a women's rights issue as a cornerstone of the solution to the challenges that Afghanistan is facing, we had a big deliberation, debates here. So I think it is not only about, having the spaces to start to talk. It is absolutely critical to have new norm holders in the room from among, including Taliban who have a differing view on these particular matters. The second very important part, we have learned it through hard lessons, new facilitation tools. We cannot have the usual spaces with the great panelists, with wonderful experiences, unless we have new tools which would help people to come together differently. And completing my part, just wanted to bring, this issue which Aizhan has triggered us. Where are the myths and the truth? Women always say, and men too, that women don't support women. Maybe true, maybe not. Well, people have different views, that's fine. But women also support women. That's also true. But somehow, what is always emphasized is that women don't support women. I feel that it is actually a tactic to separate us from one another. So we, as leaders in our various capacities, we need to then bring in the other truth, which is women support women. We show it, we practice it, we speak about it, we bring it as a, very concrete example of how things can be changed in the world. And the context in which now we operate and with which I want to conclude my part is as such that things are moving too fast, too rapidly, without us being able to notice, understand, comprehend how things are moving so fast that we are missing on the fundamentals, on the key basis of the humans, of the nature, and how we actually connect. And that's why it is absolutely critical. And thank you so much for CAMCA for bringing this very important topic here. And I do hope that for all the future meetings, we will also be the champions where every man and woman would say no if there is only male panels. We will say no if there will be no issues of gender equality, women's rights touched upon, be it within the issue of, I don't know, digitization or environment or any other topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ulzi, for such a comprehensive picture on increasing the gender equality in our society. And I completely agree with you that we need to reach a common vision on gender equality. And to reach is that we need to promote the inclusive societies. Farzana, you've been significantly involved in public awareness activities around economic, women, and education-related matters back in Afghanistan. And what kind of public awareness campaign would help to challenge established stereotypes regarding women participation, and which will help to create a more inclusive community with equal opportunities?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to see a good number of people talking about women, interested to hear. But I have one comment before I start. I see very few men here, which is a pity. And thanks for those who participated. And meanwhile, I think we should have at least one man in the panel as well. This is a suggestion from my side. So about the question, as Dr. Kathleen rightly mentioned, the gender inequality exists all over the world. From my belief, we cannot say men and women are equal, because I believe that women are much stronger. Because if you have exactly everywhere, because to reach a certain goal, a woman has to go through many more challenges than a man. So we cannot. We cannot say that they are equal. So then, of course, when it comes to decision making and these things, then men are perceived as being dominant, autonomous, and powerful, while women are known as being like more kind-hearted, soft caregivers. And this is where the problem starts. Well, we should accept that some things come by nature. For example, some responsibilities are there for the women, which makes them, for example, being a mother, taking care of children. These are things that are coming to a woman by nature, and we cannot deny that. However, it does not mean that women should always be confined in the house, and they should be only taking care of others and providing facilities to others, which is what happens in most of the societies, especially in our part of the world, and especially in our country, Afghanistan, which is the worst extreme right now. So here there are two parts. One part is the part that's played by the governments and the leaderships, and then the other that comes from the societies themselves. So for countries like Afghanistan or other countries in the region, it's important to have, first of all, that the government or the leadership allows women to grow and to be participating in all the decision makings and everything that's happening. But it's also a fact that many governments have perfect legislations, they have perfect systems that if you look at the papers, everything is nicely written on the papers that, well, we are trying to have gender equality, even we have like gender budgeting and those nice terms that we are using. But in principle, you again see that the gender inequality exists. So then what happens? In that case, then it is when the role of the communities come up. So first of all, when we are talking of raising awareness, it should start from the women themselves. Because when many women perceive themselves as being responsible for certain tasks, and they don't think out of the box, and they don't think that they don't imagine themselves participating in big decision makings or in leadership positions or anything. I mean, this is what I'm saying from my own experience, that when I talk to women refugees, that I'm currently based in Turkey and we are mainly dealing with the women refugees. When we speak to them, sometimes they say, well, they have been deprived of their basic rights in Afghanistan. But even when they come out of Afghanistan and then they have an environment where they can prosper and they can develop themselves, they still have that kind of mindset that we cannot do anything or we shouldn't be doing anything. We have a family to take care of and that's enough. But this is where we start our job to raise their awareness about their rights, about their capabilities, what they can do and what they can become. So raising awareness should start from the women themselves, because in many cases they don't know their rights and their capabilities. And secondly, of course, the family, also the cultural issues also comes up, as Aisuluu rightly mentioned here, that the cultural norms also, they confine women to a great extent, especially in our societies. So the men think that, well, women shouldn't be involved in the decision-making processes or outside the house or whatever. So this could also be done through the social groups. So it should be like a bottom-up approach, starting from the grassroots levels, raising awareness of the women themselves and also their communities, the families, through the social groups, maybe through the religious groups in some countries where religion is dominant. And I think that would be a more effective approach to do it, because if we always focus on a top-down approach that everything is based on policies and legislation, but then it doesn't happen on the ground. So it's important to have it in a bottom-up approach. And I think this way, and definitely women can have a very positive role in the economic security and political aspects of any country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farzana. I think all of us here today who are sitting around the table are sharing the same commitment to shape a more inclusive, more innovative, and more sustainable future that values diversity and equality. But to make it, we need to think about how to solve the future problems of humanity. Alanoud, you are the one who is deeply committed for driving progress and innovation in your home country and beyond. Can you tell us a little bit more how women succeeded to be among decision makers in UAE, and also since your company is focused on solving the future challenges, can you share with us your vision on innovation, of future trends and innovation that can unite women in Central Asia?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy and delighted to be here. Thank you, CAMCA, for it's my first visit to Central Asia. So this is an eye-opener for me, and I'm learning so much. But I think the most important question is why I'm in CAMCA, why I'm in Central Asia. I'm from the Middle East. But there are so many things that are similar. And that's what I wanted to start with, because if I answer this question without showing the connection between us, it doesn't make any sense. You're nomads, we're Bedouins. You used to travel. You used to travel on camels, we used to do the same. My grandma lived in a house made of palm trees and tents. You guys have your yurts. So culture, we are very similar and we move around, and trading was very important and essential. So there is a cultural link. Yes, we might have the same religion, but we're very different culturally. And that's beautiful. That diversity and difference is not a weakness, actually a strength. Just also to give you more of a context, I worked for 15 years in the government building ecosystems. So from startups to SMEs to large companies, and worked with multinational companies. So that ecosystem is very important. And I'll come to why it's important as I answer the question. Working closely with women entrepreneurs as a mentor, I worked with amazing brands such as Bentley, for example. We had women mentorship program. Why it was important? When we talk about success stories, the biggest success story is why it's shared, because you want to pave the way for others to follow. So women need to speak about their struggles before their success to make it easier for other women to relate and understand what is the struggles and the challenges, and use these solutions that other women use to make their path easier and do it faster. So the next one will expedite the whole process. And when we talk about the future, as a futurist, I work on technology and developing solutions for sustainability, energy, agriculture, climate, etc. But just let me give you a bit of information what CAMCA can achieve from the learning we had. Now, the UAE is 50-ish years old. I mentioned my mother lived in a house made of palm trees. So in 50 years, we did achieve a lot. But that change comes by accepting what's new. And resistance is always there. But the government played a role in accepting 200 plus nationalities, different businesses coming, creating jobs. Education was very important, so education is very crucial. And when you have education and you have the knowledge, then there need to be initiatives that actually create collaboration. And collaboration is key between whether it is the citizens, the governments, the large companies, the small and medium enterprises, SMEs. Even something as simple as a startup weekend. And there's a weekend where youth can actually develop ideas on tackling a problem, finding solution. You guys have a very great potential because you all speak the same language. Yes, you have Kyrgyz, you have Kazakhstan, but you all speak a common language. And when we had some of the biggest startup success stories in Dubai and in the UAE, it was about localizing. So we had a company like Uber called Kareem. All what they did is localize the content. And instead of you going and order the car, it's like, it says yalla, like davai, you know what I mean? Like it made it local, so it was very close to the community, and the community preferred it over than Uber. What happened? Uber bought that company for billions of dollars. That's the success stories that people need to understand. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Take the learning from someone else's challenge and success and take it to the next level. I'll just give you, and it doesn't make sense. I'll tell you all the great things that we have. We have minister women, and you guys have amazing ministers here, but women are 50% of the parliament or the national council. I will tell you some facts so you would do it, but it would be interesting. In the UAE, 77% of Emirati women, all women, go to university. Out of all the graduates from university, 64% are women, and they are intensively studying STEM. So that is, we're talking here, technology, mathematics. They're focused on STEM industry. A lot of them, they don't go to career. Don't forget, the role as a mother is also important. If a woman decides to be a mom, it's her total right. That is what freedom is all about. She wants to be a mom, she has the right to do that. And we need to respect that, because if she wants to raise, and the society and her situation allows her to do that, it is very important to be able to understand that we can't be equal because we have different roles, but we need to have similar opportunities, and the pay gap should not be there. So we need to understand women can multitask and can think differently and can look at social problems and sustainability issues and climate problems different than a man looking at it, because they will look at it maybe, and I'm looking at it very much like what a lot of women want to say, a man way of looking, very business and numbers. because we need to look at it holistically. But everyone should be individually, have the right to choose what they want to be. I was in panels where we had men talking about, because they have sisters and daughters, they're talking about gender equality and the importance of that. They have wives and daughters, and we need to have men involved in this, because there were, for a very long time, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not representing anyone here, for a very long time, it was a men's world, run by men in a men way. And women were happy with that. But then there is now a time, and I don't think we need empowerment. I see a lot of powerful women sitting here. I'm against the word empowering as much as enabling, because my mother and my grandmother were so powerful in our family. No one would do anything without their approval. So I don't think they needed power. What we need is equal opportunities, equal votes, and when we sit on the table. So I'm going to give you an example. In the UAE, there is a mandate. Every board have to have one woman at least. That mandate changed a lot of things. The UAE, literally this March in 2024, this March, we've ranked 7th globally in the women in the rank for regionally the first and globally 7th in the inequality index 2024. We were in 2015 49th, and in 2022 11th. So there's so much initiatives need to put where if someone doesn't like it, it has to be forced to start with in a small scale. But then when they see the outcome and they see the importance of that role, then you have the buy-in of other brothers, our fathers, our husbands. The men will understand the value that women add to the table. Women are, in Central Asia, 30% of the business owners are women. I was surprised. That means without all of these issues, women have achieved that. Imagine if they get a little bit more endorsement and support, what you guys will be able to do. It's shocking, right? With so much potential of adding much value to the economy and the society, women will be able to add so much value in every aspect. Look at it as, I'm just going to give you some, and I don't think we can link this because of two reasons. What you guys went through historically is different than what we went through. So we cannot compare an apple to an apple. But what we can do is learn from the struggles and the challenges and how to overcome them, and maybe take some ideas and be implemented. So we do have a Women Gender Equality Council in the UAE, and they do play a huge role. They literally put a mandate for boards. We do have a huge, it's over 40% of careers are women in the UAE. So there's a lot of women in the public sector playing roles. We are training our astronaut now, because we had the mission to Mars, and we have training our first female astronaut. Saudi Arabia actually sent an astronaut, and it was like, I'm getting goosebumps just saying that, because it's amazing. If we can do it. If they went to Mars, women have been to space a long time ago, but for us from the region, it's amazing. But let's go back to yesterday's book, and we're talking about the enlightenment of this region. And this region has always been connected. And we had lots of psychologists and astrologists and scientists coming from this region to the Arabian Peninsula. We had similar language, we were sharing the same alphabet, and we had books coming out. And we need to remember, and I'll give you an example why I'm saying this. We need to remember our history and hold tight to it, and not allow the media to change and play with the perceptions, and then build for the future, built on the glory of the history. Let's forget the negativity, but let's look at the positive things, the knowledge, the education. The first university in the Middle East was founded by a woman in Morocco. So women had a huge role as scientists, as poets, as writers, and we need to remember that. So I asked the person who was running the space mission, Imran Sharaf in the UAE to Mars. And I asked him, why is this important? And he had a lot of women in his team. Why is this important? Why Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid want to take the UAE to Mars? He said, we have forgotten once upon a time the glory that we had in history. All the science, all the medicine, all the literature. We have forgotten it. So they invested billions of dollars to show again what we are capable of achieving. And men cannot do it without women by them. Even a successful man, he will say, I have a great wife to support me. Men cannot do it without us, and we cannot do it without men. And we need to work together. And we cannot do the same mistakes men did. So we cannot say it need to be all women. No, we need to be what we wish they were. And I'm not saying all men, it's not fair. Let's have equal. rights. Let's talk equally, because it involves both of us, so let's talk about it together. And I want to end it with a verse, a very simple quote from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. إنما النساء شقائق الرجال. Women are twin halves of men. Thank you.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Alanoud, for such a great discussion about the topic on women empowerment and equality, gender equality. And now I would like to open the floor for questions from the audience. But before I start taking the question, I think Dr. Kathleen would like to make an announcement.
All right. This is thank you for giving me another minute. You know, as Alanoud was talking about inspiring each other and imagining something different, our institute, beginning now the 5th year, offers an annual award globally to one woman and several supporting finalists on women building peace. Our board committed to it. It also provides funding. And so it is kind of its own Nobel Peace Prize for women. And it is really to lift up the everyday peace builder. We're not looking for those who've won awards. We're looking for somebody you know, and you have about 10 days to submit your nomination. And it's all on our website at USIP, Women Building Peace. Please bring voice and vision to the women you know in your countries. Thank you for letting me announce that.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have a first question. Okay.
Thank you very much, ladies. In philosophy and physics and science fiction, there is a concept of time flight. That is it possible that we could travel in past years? And listening to conversations from flying to Mars, the situation in Afghanistan, simultaneously really I traveled from to different eras that years. But the reality is that just south of this country there is the world's first gender apartheid. And it is unprecedented in history of human civilization what the women of Afghanistan are suffering. Unprecedented. I am a student of history. What in the 21st century that women of Afghanistan are suffering is unprecedented. The Taliban, they have issued 150 decrees, and 110 of them are against women. To be a woman in Afghanistan is a crime. You don't have to be a doctor. You do not have to be an activist. It is a crime to be a woman. And that is, I mean, again, I know misogynistic is a universal crime. In every culture, in every religion, in every country, we have some element of misogynistic discrimination. But what we are now seeing in Afghanistan is really, is kind of a perfect, everything have come together. And I would like to highlight 3 important issues here is that. One is that this deeply misogynistic of Afghan cultures, particularly the Pashtun cultures. And it is our responsibility as Afghan men and Afghan children, we have to own that, yes. Then Islamic law is discriminatory against women. All religion, all discriminatory against religion, including Islamic law. And I think we can have to face, particularly the Muslim who are proud of their religions. We should have that moral courage to challenge Islamic law discriminations. In Quran, in Hadith, in Prophet's practice, there are many examples of discrimination against women. And unfortunately, the Muslims have kept silence about discrimination in Islamic law. But there is a hypocrisy of the Western women's movement. I live in the UK since the Taliban returns, and I'm at the University of Sussex. It's a progressive, liberal, left-wing universities. There have been, I counted during the last 2 years, I think there were 17 programs at Sussex University and surrounding university about a female transgenders issue and bathroom. We know that it is a neutral bathroom, but there was not one single event about women of Afghanistan in the UK. In the UK, in the United States, we have a democratic administration who came of the Me Too generation. We have Dr. Biden's, the first lady. We have the vice president. We have Secretary Clinton. There are a lot of successful women in the U.S. politics, but hardly any of them has spoken about women of Afghanistan. Really, therefore, I think I'm very pleased to CAMCA to dedicate a panel for the women of Afghanistan. So we're very grateful, but I think it's not enough. I think that we need to mobilize this in the 3 areas, that we need to really challenge Afghan men, people like me and my fellow Afghan here start to show our sisters and brothers. We need to challenge my sister from the UAE. I'm sorry, I don't know if it is your money. You can spend whatever you want to spend. I mean, as a UAE, I mean that. You can spend, go to the mosque. But look at the women of the Muslims in Syria, in Palestine, in Sudan. So what is more important, going to mosque or helping the women of the regions? In the region. Even if Prophet Muhammad wants, I think that is important that the priority should be the real issue rather than faith. Therefore, I think we need truly solidarity of the Afghan men, Muslim, and Western women to help the Afghan women. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 of my fellow Afghans stole 2 of my tenders. But I'm going to be very brief, and I'm going to just echo that it's unfortunate that all the men sitting in other panels are missing such a wonderful discussion here. They all should be here because this is one of the most important sessions of our forum. And on that line, I'm going to tell a story of an Afghan woman that I met in California in December, who was a victim of Taliban sexual assault, rape, detention, just because she dared to go on the streets of Kabul when the Taliban came in power, and made her disappear from the society that she has been part of for the past 20 years, working hard by shedding blood and tears to make sure that women are equal parts of the society. She was traumatized, she was betrayed, and she felt alone and abandoned. And her message was the indifference and compliance of men. They went on the streets of Kabul to protest against brutal and oppressive regime of the Taliban. But Afghan men, as Dr. Muradian said, never showed up to support them. It's important for men to be on the same table, listen, understand, and try to help if they're not doing at least becoming an hindering factor into solving women's problems. And right now, Afghanistan, according to statistics, is the worst place for women to be as a human being. And there's the thing that I want this table to remember and maybe chip in wherever you could do to help your Afghan sister is that there is this grassroots movement of Afghan women across the globe. even inside Afghanistan, where they are trying to make the United Nations recognize gender apartheid against women in Afghanistan. The legal definition of gender apartheid is discrimination, socioeconomic discrimination against a group of society based on their sex and gender. And this is exactly what's happening in Afghanistan. Those movements are grassroots, organic, and flat. There is no hierarchy, but they're small and they are gaining momentum, and they need your help and support. And with that, I thank all of you.
Hi, hello, my name is Catherine Putz. I'm the managing editor of The Diplomat. And I have, my question is really, how do we move women's issues from being this sort of siloed thing that only women seem to care about and integrate it into every other thing? Because women are present in every aspect of life. Security affects women. I spent a lot of time dealing with missile defense stuff in a previous life. And there's this perception that women don't care and can't do these things. So the question is, how do you move women's issues from this side table to being integrated into everything? It's not a separate issue. And we don't talk about security or geoeconomics as men's issues. And so it sort of seems sort of weird to me to isolate women's issues instead of just including women. So I'm curious sort of how you hope and plan to integrate women into kind of everything, because it feels like being a sideline issue is not equal. It's not any of that. So I'm curious on that, and we can talk later because I know we're kind of going over time. But thank you very much for all of your contributions.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
It's just personal opinion, and I don't know if my sisters here will agree. Each of us have a role. So as an entrepreneur, I can support women by sharing the knowledge, by mentorship. Someone else's role will be fighting for policies, and how they can create a more environment that is more enabling for women to be part of it. But I think women's role is as well not to stay quiet and keep going. And by just accepting what's being told is not the solution. Each of us have our own capacity. So it can't be like one answer for all of us. It doesn't make sense. So I'm just going to give an idea here from, I think, every country, it's a personal opinion, every country have a budget and they can allocate budgets to initiatives to support women. That's number one. Number two, you have resources. So women who have good ideas, don't wait. Go for the idea that you really like and try to understand what is the problem and what is the solution you're bringing on the table, understanding your competitive analysis in the market and how you're going to find the right team, and go for it. Don't wait, because you're going to see your idea being deployed by someone else if you wait. There are some initiatives that are interesting. So for example, in the GCC countries, 6 countries, they have an agreement within them. So they can travel freely between these countries. Because I heard some topics and I was like, that's something that we have. So you don't need a visa. You can, with the national ID, I can go to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, and Kuwait. So you can travel within these countries. At the same time, they have also some economical ties, which means import and export as well is incentivized or almost waived. So there's no fees for import and export between the countries. And there's other initiatives to support each other for economical reason. Now that is one aspect to look at it from a regional point of view. But me as Alanoud al-Hashmi, I would love to support a lot of women. So whenever I have an initiative out there, like I'm working with Pepsi, for example, an accelerator program for sustainability. It covers the whole region. So I'm working with entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs from Lebanon, from Tunisia. I've tried to engage with as much as we can, and I understand I didn't get his name, but from Afghanistan, his comments. It is very sad. But how can I help someone? I need to start with myself, and I think, and then I can work slowly and grow. And I'm an individual. I'm a humble entrepreneur, a businesswoman trying to break with all the women challenges. I'm trying to break my way, and I hope I can support with my experience any woman, not only Afghanistan, everywhere. And it feels so hard that we can't really do something. But I think by moving slowly, even if it's step by step, that's going to reach somewhere. It's gonna, the wave effect is going to happen, and it can go globally. And I think the people of Afghanistan can put a role, and we will support definitely the thoughts, because it's unfair and it's unacceptable. And no one would accept that. Any human, normal human being won't accept that. So we feel for you. We wish we can do more. And if there is anything that we can do that is accessible, easier, and will not get us in trouble, please let us know. We would love to be part of that. Thank you.
I also would like to add to your question from my perspective. As Dr. Rajan was also saying, this is the paradoxes of our current time, that we see the past, the current, the future exactly at the same time, even in the same space. And we cannot deny the fact that they coexist, and the funding and the investment and the attention needs to equally go into all three areas. And in this respect, if we are talking about, okay, so what do we need to do? First and foremost, I would say it's a change of concepts, change of rhetorics. Without changing that, even doing better job, greater job, it's not going to help. So changing concept is a big thing, and we never invest into that. Secondly, it is absolutely critical to bring now science and business closer to development, because it has been isolated for too long, and we don't synergize necessarily what has already been achieved from science and business into development. Development is miserably underfunded, yet all the major progresses in the world that we see is in the private sector, because they have the money, the power, but we don't have the actual bridge to bring that knowledge to development. When I was studying at Oxford, I was shocked, being there, I was shocked to learn that one of the last all-male universities in Oxford, they opened the door to women in the 90s. So that's the paradoxes of our time that we live in currently. And that's why it is absolutely critical to really understand what is going on and to really refrain and connect differently. So I'll stop here. Of course, I want to say more, but for the sake of time, I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. You would like to also 1-2 minutes, and then we have to conclude. Yeah, there is also a panelist who would like to answer the question.
So in response to your questions, I think everybody can play a role if they are willing to, anyone, anywhere, because women of Afghanistan are not only suffering in Afghanistan, but anywhere in the world. So as women refugees who are living in the region, the women students, everywhere, they're facing challenges. So any kind of support to any of those women would be very much needed and appreciated. For example, the organization that we are running in Turkey, it's focusing on Afghan women refugees who are living in very desperate conditions. But most of the times we are struggling to get funds, to receive funds, to have programs to help those women. Because although there are so many donors that are currently existing in Turkey, they have so many other priorities that they sometimes forget what Afghan women need. So sometimes we're thinking that, okay, the women are inside Afghanistan and maybe we cannot do much about them, but that's not the case. There are always things that can be done to any woman who are in need of support anywhere in the world. Thank you so much.
Let me also please answer on your question, because there are a lot of problems in all countries, unfortunately, especially problems that are touching women's, small children. And in our work in Parliament, as a member of Parliament, every day we are struggling against this inequality first of all, but also with violence, about domestic violence, and struggling every day is about not only about budgeting for crisis centers, increasing expenses on education, increasing expenses on healthcare. Also, like there used to be kidnapping for getting marriage in our country. It was also big issue. In few years, it became, like crime. Now it's a crime. So today, it's just a few occasions when someone kidnapped a woman to get married. But it used to be a different situation. It was, like you were walking and all men could just kidnap you, and from this time you will be my wife. It was a very big problem, but today it's almost solved. Yes, and tightening the laws is our, like main goal, and today we're working under a lot of different kind of laws. And in previous convocations, there was no any woman, and today it's almost about 20% in parliament in Kyrgyzstan. So there are a lot of issues that we are struggling every day, and we have our voices in parliament, and it's very helping to our women, our children to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dear participants, I'd like to make an announcement. We understand the Afghan theme is women in Afghanistan is very difficult theme, but at the same time it is a global agenda for peace and security. And our chairmanship in our caucus, we will discuss it globally soon in autumn, and that is why I'd like to invite you who are interested. Please let me know. And another activities will be in November. We will conduct very big expo, which will collaborate so many active women with entrepreneurship and scientists. So many interesting women who has their own business, and innovators, digital issues. Of course, we invite you to. It will be very interesting. And this positive note, I think, give you the floor.
Thank you, Ainura. I think there's a great discussion that we had today, because there's a lot of takeaways that we can take during this year to the next session in our meeting of the CAMCA community. And I think one of the, I would call it small step that would definitely need to do is by inviting men to the Women Empowerment panel session discussion. Yeah, so on this note, I would like to conclude our panel session. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for our esteemed panelists for their invaluable contributions. And I also would like to extend my appreciation to each and every one of you for your active participation and engagement. And conclude this session, I would like to share with you the quote, which I really like. This quote has been said by Sheryl Sandberg. Sheryl Sandberg was technology executive, American technology executive, writer and philanthropist. She's been as a chief operating officer at the Meta platform and CEO at Facebook. So she said, leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. So I think the experience of our speakers is direct evidence of that. Thank you very much.